Okay, my friends, buckle up. Shocker du jour. We're going to be talking about arteries. And what does an artery look like? And what is it made out of? And what is the layers and so forth? Let's see if we can figure it out. Okay, let's just start off. For starters, I have giants. They've been DNA tested, CAT scanned bits and pieces. This is what an artery looks like. And this is what an artery looks like too. And this is that artery. That's a good size artery. In a human being, I don't think they get much bigger than that. All right, now, this is a hair follicle. And so is this. All right, there's where the erector pili muscle attaches right there. This is the sebaceous gland, comes down from here. It's slid down to here. The hair shaft comes up through the top. And there's the root ball, and there's the vein and artery right there. This is a much bigger than a human being or any creature now that lives. Has no root ball that's that size. They were enormously gigantic creatures, and therefore they had arteries like this size, some of them. There was ones that were our size too. This is a bone from something not too much bigger than us, similar. And it's one of these bones, I think maybe like a wrist bone or something. There's another bone that attached here. And these are all the Mudfossils. Some of them were just perfect, like meat. All right, now this has all been rejected by academia because it overthrows everything they said about our past and history and fossils and the age of the earth and virtually everything. Geology, all off the table now. Archaeology, anthropology. It's just not right. So let's keep going. Okay, shocker du jour. That, I was told, was a tree stump. A piece of a tree, petrified, came from New Mexico. And there's no tree rings or anything in it, but it sure looks like a tree to me. It looks like a knot in a tree and all that stuff. So there's that. So that's, I thought, was for sure a petrified tree. We're going to look at it again. This is not a petrified tree. This is an artery. It's just like this. I've got this smoothed down. I'm going to put it in the microscope, a little water. You'll see it's exactly like this. And this is actually literally the blood inside the artery, stacked, all plugged up in the artery. See, this side is eroded, but you can see this is the outside, this right here. It separates everything from the blood. All right, so I'm going to put it in a microscope, and we're just going to be able to see this. You know, I ground this down flat so you can see it much better than the scruffy looking stuff. All right, I'm going to teach you a little lesson here. You see that? That's the part that I made smooth so that we can see the separations between the layers until you get to the blood. Now this is dry. Now let's put a little moisture on there and see what happens. All right, so this is what you were just looking at. And this is, again, this is an artery. And that's the little spot we were looking at, the flat spot. And this is what it looks like. Now, this, again, this is supposedly a petrified tree. And I never questioned it. I always thought, yeah, you know, trees do petrify here and there, but not that often. And I could see that it had a lot of colors of blood in here, and I just thought, it must have been near where there was a lot of transition metals, and they invested into this to solidify it. But as I started looking into it, I think this might be body tissue. And it might have been like a rope tendon or a muscle group. And it was sold as a petrified tree. My wife got that for me, just, you know, as a gift, and I just assumed that it was a tree, and it looks like a tree. It looks like a knot there. And this looks like a branch that's coming up. And I even looked at it here. It looks like a branch coming up that's sort of fused to there. And you see those. But I don't see any rings. But so I figured, well, maybe it's some kind of good size fern or something. I don't know. I don't know that much about plants, but I do know that this got some transition metal colors in here. And then when I started looking at it really carefully, I think it might be a body part from a creature, like I say, an arm or something. Like even has like two pieces to it. A tibia and a fibula or something like that, or your arm bone, your humerus and your ulna or whatever they call it. And as I looked at it in the microscope, more and more, it looks like it was a body part, but I have no idea. All I know, it was got for me by my wife as a present, and I guess, I don't know. I'm going to look at it a little closer. But the reason I'm getting into this is because I've been going back and forth with Tyson. Tyson's Mudfossil Adventures. Now, he's got a site out there. It's fabulous. And he's doing great work. And he's looking over all of these tendons and so forth, and lava, and he's got membranes. He's got everything. It's just off the scales crazy. And he likes to get kind of deep into it, as I do. So it works out great. We go back and forth. And right now we're doing Devil's Tower, his take, my take, back and forth, lava, this and that. We know it's not lava. That's just ridiculous. However, I think I might have discovered something about tendons. I literally, I'm telling you, it's just a fact. I discovered the fluid-filled highway, the interstitium, in 2015, wrote a paper about it. It's called Fascia-Facilitated Fossilization. And the fluid-filled highway was in the fascia, and they acknowledged that in 2018. Now, I also discovered this latch that's on body parts, and I just did a video about it, that latch, and they're gigantic because the creatures were gigantic. And that latch is on lungs, it's on body parts, it's on shoulders, and it holds things together. So, I need to look at this really carefully and see if this makes sense to be something other than a tree. Because it's been sitting here forever. I keep Caesar sitting right on there just like that. Right, Caesar, that's his perch. I didn't even know he was on a tree. I always thought he was on a tree. Well, Caesar, I don't know, buddy. We're going to find out what you've been laying on. And if anybody knows what this big feather is on the back of this thing, it's some kind of waterfowl. I know I've seen something like that before, that feather pattern. But other than that, it looks like a goose or something. But I looked up goose, and I didn't see them with that feather. You see the feather? Shadow of that feather. He died laying like this in the Great Flood, as all of this stuff did. There was creatures here that nobody can even possibly imagine. That's a hair follicle. That's a hair follicle. That's where the muscles attaches. That's where the sebaceous gland is. That's where the hair comes up here. That's the root ball. And that's the vein and artery. You look up hair follicle, and there's just no question. This is what it is. It's 2 inches wide. In us, it's a couple thousandths of an inch wide. That's a big difference. I don't know if that's a human giant or not. My stuff that I had tested was human giants. And they came back human DNA. Mitochondrial DNA, which means it's human. It's from the mother's side. And we all have that same DNA. I wanted to show that there was dense, good quality DNA deep inside these bones, which aren't bones, they're mud fossils. And there was. It came out, because there's like literally blood coming out of them. I mean, it's really like, well, let me show you. All right, this is a mud fossil lung. I had this DNA tested too. and I drilled into here and got out red blood out of there. It's from the Great Flood, flat as a pancake in the back. And I'll show you this turning back into blood. I mean, it's so dense that you could just about do a transfusion with this. I mean, plus this thing is perfect shape. It's transplantable. I think I drilled a hole down right through there before. You know, you got to go down deep inside. You can't just scrub it off the surface. But for now, I'm just going to show you real quick. And I'll show you in a microscope how quickly it turns into blood. And I mean blood. All right, let's stay about this far away. Let me tune in. All right, now I'm going to put a little water on here. So I got to turn the lights out and get my probe. Here it is. Keep a little more water on there. All right, now I got to turn the lights out. Now we're going to go up and look at that spot that I just put the water on. It's already, I mean, it turns bloody red instantaneously almost. Red blood rehydrates very, very fast. Now, let me tune this in. All right, let me turn the lights down a smidge. All right, you ready? Here we go. I'm just going to scrape it up a little bit, and you'll just see it turn right into blood again. You see that? See? It's just like blood. So getting blood out of this is no problem whatsoever. Now, I only did the maternal side to make sure that there was actually human DNA in there, and it was. So, you know, there's other tests you can do about the other side of the DNA. I had the mitochondrial DNA done, but it was just completely blood. Plus, anatomically, it's exactly, there is no questions about this. And the same thing with the giants. I had 2 giant ones tested. Anatomically exact and dense, high quality, excellent quality is what it said, DNA. All right, I got interrupted a lot, so I'm not sure where I was, but I know I showed you the big artery and the lining around it, and there it is right there. And this is the anatomical showing this. So I know I showed you that. Let me just make sure that you see it one more time. This is what the structure of an artery wall is. You see all these layers? All right, this is the gigantic artery I have here. These are all the layers. This is where the blood is, and it's still packed with blood. It's still packed with blood. All right, now, so that's that. And now we're going to get into the trees, the petrified trees, because I think I talked about this. I wanted to look at this in a microscope because I originally thought this was a petrified tree, and I never gave it a second thought until I was talking with Tyson, and then I decided, well, let me take a better look at it, and I'm not sure now. I'm really not sure. It doesn't have the characteristics of either one specifically, but it does have the characteristics of both. So we just gotta have to take a look at it. Caesar's perch. Now let me just show you something. There's tons of, well, not a lot, tons. They had to be in an area, in my mind, where there was a lot of transition metals, these colored metals, and they turn into agates. You see this? This was a tree. You can see the rings in the tree. I'm very sure this was a tree, but it's turned into agate, which is a very hard substance, but it's because transition metals have worked their way into there and bonded and formed very stable bonds with the cellulose, I imagine is what it did. Now, that's one. Here's another one here somewhere. Look at this one. That's fabulous looking, isn't it? But you can see the same thing. I would say that's a it could be a bone, but it's hard to say. That's all. That's some serious transition metals. You know, the more I look at it, I could go with this is going to be a bone. Because bone also has rings. And it's just too much transition metals in that. I don't think this is a bone. But it could be. Look at this, all the red, you know, the black. You have to see maybe a little more of these things to be 100% sure. There's characteristics of both. And like this one here, I say, look at this. There's nothing there. There's no rings of anywhere, of anything. But it absolutely looks like a tree. And it looks like it's got, like, you know, growing like a extra little piece off the side is going to be a branch, something like that. This is where it gets really interesting, where you find something that it really confuses you. This is, like I say, it's been sitting here for probably 10 years or more. And it's just been a tree as far as I thought. But today, it may not be a tree, but it still may be a tree. I don't know. I got to give it some real good look. I don't see any treeness. I don't see any rings. But I really don't see anything that I would consider, well, I got to look at it in a microscope. You see these? That's very similar to this. These I know, those I'm almost 100% sure those are tree slabs that came apart in sections. All right, just so you get a perspective of this, this is this artery, and it's over 4 inches across. 4 inches is the size of an artery, and it's still saturated and packed with blood. That's the blood that was in the artery. All right, so we got to take a whole new look at this. Okay, I got interrupted a couple times, but I'm just going to continue on. Now, virtually everybody knows about Devil's Tower. This is a certain shot that shows it the way it should be shown, twisted up this way. Usually they come right from this side or right from that side. Now, these are the blocks that run up the side. This is exactly the same thing here. These are tendons. That is an ankle, and this is the wrinkle zone of the ankle, and these are the fibers, same as this. It's exactly the same. This is like a little bit of bloody stuff has run down here. You might be able to see it. It was laying like this way, but it is one of these fibers. Now, if you can see this coating here, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's all around the whole thing. And what that is, it's called slurpy, small leucine-rich proteins. And they coat all these fibers. And the reason they coat them is so that that fiber can slide in and out inside that slurpy. Oops, these all have to move just a little bit against each other as you flex and do this and that with that tendon. And that's the coating. Now, because it died standing up, that slurpy has sort of come down and wrinkled down here. But you see, it's a coating. It's a coating. It's not, that rock is not solid. And these guys are a little crazy for climbing on there, but you know, they do as they do. But this is the identical same thing. All right, and that's, like I said, that's the bloody area down here, which means it was laying like this, and the red bloody moisture stuff ran to the bottom, and it's a little denser down here. When you look at it in a microscope and the fluid and so forth, you can see all the little details. All right, but this is not like igneous rock or basalt or any of that stuff. They come up with all these names, and they think that's the end of it. Well, it's not. This is all biology. Okay, my good friends. Now, if you are a geologist or a mineralogist or whatever, you'll see this and you'll say, oh, that happened from magma that solidified into these hex blocks. It's just that everybody knows that. It's just common knowledge. There's no reason to even talk about it. Well, I think there is reason to talk about it. You see these hex blocks? Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm showing you there's this type of tendon, there's this type of tendon. I'm going to go through the whole shooting match because we're going to be talking about volcanism, which absolutely there's volcanoes. There's no question about that. I mean, that's just no question. But that is not from volcanism. And Tyson Carlson and I, Tyson's Mudfossil Adventures, we've been talking back and forth about volcanoes and about lava flows and about, you know, trying to figure out the origin of these formations, because right now they're not understood and they're just that's just intrusive basalt, that's extrusive basalt, that's elusive basalt. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, and you know, the igneous and sedimentary and this and that. Well, sedimentary is just eroded body parts. It appears that everything is biology. I'm sorry, that is just what we have found. I think I'm going to end it up with this now. As I showed you, I have giant things coming out of my ears. Giant hair follicles. Like 1,000 times bigger than ours. A vein. Look at the size of that vein. And there it is right there. And I mean, I got so much on this, and it also relates to down in Peru and everywhere. Devil's Tower, tendons, Giant's Causeway with all these hex fibers. Devil's Tower has this kind of a fiber. Giant's Causeway has these kind of fibers. We're going to go through all this stuff, but I think I'll end it up for today. Again, I have material evidence. It's not just guesses. I'm showing things to support the statements I'm making. All right, I love you all. All right, my friends, I think the best thing to do is just start another video that's going to be all about intrusive basalt and igneous rocks and all kinds of things that they say, and they try to justify how they think these things formed. And of course, you know that I have a different take on it. My take is biological. So I have to support what I'm saying. So I'm going to do it. And the next video will be the support of different types of lava. All right, we want, because there's no question there's lava flows, absolutely no question about that. But is that lava? Is that from magma? Is that solidified magma? Is Giant's Causeway solidified magma? I don't think so. And I will present my evidence in the next video. All right, I love you all. Thanks.